Listen up, because what you're about to hear isn't another recycled Forbes list or some polished TMZ recap. This is the raw, unfiltered autopsy of how Kanye West, yeah, whatever name he's claiming this week, went from holding $1.8 billion in net worth to watching $1.5 billion of it vanish in under 3 years. And here we are, February 14th, 2026, Valentine's Day of all days, and the man is still liquidating ranches, dropping $20 slides, and posting cryptic Bible verses like nothing ever happened. I'm Strange, this is Dirty Hollywood, and we don't do the sanitized version, we dig until the bones show. So turn the lights low, grab whatever calms your nerves, because tonight we're walking through every betrayal, every manic tweet, every boardroom execution that turned a billionaire into a cautionary tale still selling socks to survive. Picture the moment it broke. October 6, 2022. Adidas headquarters, Herzogenaurach, Germany. A sterile conference room that smells like fresh coffee and panic, phones vibrating nonstop on the projector, Kanye's tweet, word for word, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people." The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda. Silence. Dead silence. One VP drops his pen. Another mutters, "Christ Almighty." The head of legal already has the termination clause pulled up. No 30-day notice. No negotiation. They hit send on the press release in under 90 minutes. Adidas does not tolerate anti-Semitism and other forms of hate speech. Yee's recent comments and actions have been unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous. Effective immediately, the partnership is terminated. Forbes updates the profile the same day. Billionaire status revoked from 1.8 billion to 400 million overnight. The number they've stuck to ever since, 400 million as of right now in 2026. Kanye fires back on Instagram, 2.77 billion according to Eaton Venture Services fuck Forbes. But the royalty checks from Adidas? Stopped. The factories? Not his. The distribution? Gone. The marketing machine? Shut off. 1.5 billion in personal net worth. Poof. That wasn't a random tweet. That was the match hitting gasoline that had been pooling for years. Bipolar disorder he's spoken about openly. Manic episodes where he calls himself a god. Paranoia that the entire industry, especially Jewish executives, was conspiring to keep him down. Resentment that he built Yeezy into a 1.5 billion annual sales juggernaut for Adidas and still felt like he was getting scraps. Insiders who were in those late-night Zooms, people who still won't go on record because they're terrified, say he genuinely believed the they he kept naming had been robbing him blind since day one. "They took my sound, my designs, my ideas," he'd rant in voice notes that got leaked later, "and gave me crumbs." But before we get to the explosion, we have to go back to zero, because you can't understand how someone builds that high and then burns it all unless you see where the fire started. Kanye Omari West, born June 8, 1977, Atlanta, Georgia. Mother Donda, brilliant English professor at Chicago State, the kind of woman who could recite Maya Angelou and still make you feel seen. Father Ray, former Black Panther, award-winning photographer. They split when Kanye was 3. Donda takes him to Chicago's South Side. Middle-class block, but creative energy everywhere. Little Kanye is already different. Winning talent shows, sketching full outfits during math class, spends a year in Nanjing, China with his mom while she teaches, comes back speaking broken Mandarin and obsessed with global culture. Polaris High School, brief stint at Chicago State, drops out, tells his mom, "I can learn more from the streets than these classrooms." Classic Kanye. Arrogant, hungry, convinced he's ahead of everyone. Starts producing in his bedroom, soul samples chopped and screwed into something new, hustles beats to anyone who'll listen, sleeps on couches, gets rejected constantly. Then October 23rd, 2002, car crash on the way home from the studio. Jaw wired shut for weeks. Records through the wire with his mouth half numb. "I spit it through the wire, it's too much stuff on my heart right now." That song becomes legend, the underdog who refuses to die. Rockefeller finally signs him, but as a producer. Jay-Z puts him on the blueprint. Izzo, HOVA, Takeover, never change. Kanye's sound is everywhere, but he wants to rap. They tell him no. "You're the beat guy, stay there." He doesn't listen, pours everything into The College Dropout, February 10th, 2004. Jesus Walks, All Falls Down, slow jams. Gold Digger later with Jamie Foxx. Album sells over 3 million, Grammys pile up. Suddenly he's not behind the boards, he's the star. Fashion was always next, Pastel in 2005, flops hard, then Nike. Air Yeezy drops September 2009, Red October colorway becomes Holy Grail. But Nike won't give him full creative control or the royalties he demands. He walks. 2013, Adidas. $10 million deal up front, Yeezy Boost, the silhouette that made every other sneaker look dated. Earth tones, minimalism, dad shoe revolution. By 2020, Yeezy is generating 1.5 billion in sales for Adidas annually. Kanye's royalties reportedly 15 to 20% on certain lines. That's hundreds of millions flowing his way every year. Forbes declares him a billionaire in April 2020. First time ever. He buys a massive ranch in Wyoming. Then another. Then the Tadao Ando designed Malibu mansion, $57 million. Hidden Hills compound right next to Kim Kardashian. 4 kids, North Saint, Chicago Psalm, music still hitting, fashion exploding, family picture perfect on the outside. He's untouchable. Or so it seemed. But even at the peak, the warning lights were flashing red. The ego never turned off. The mouth never shut. 2005, live on NBC for Hurricane Katrina relief. George Bush doesn't care about black people. America splits in half. He doesn't apologize. 2018, shows up at the White House in a MAGA hat. I like Trump. 2019 on TMZ. Slavery was a choice. If 400 years sounds like a choice. Twitter erupts. Industry holds its breath. But the checks keep clearing. Adidas stays silent. Gap signs a massive deal. Balenciaga collaborations. The money is too good. 1.7 billion in Yeezy sales in 2020 alone. Nobody wants to kill the golden goose until the goose started screaming. And that's exactly where the fuse gets lit. That fuse I mentioned, it had been hissing for a long time before the DEFCON 3 tweet finally blew everything sky high. By 2022, the cracks weren't just visible, they were gaping. Kanye had already started testing how far he could push before someone pushed back. And nobody pushed back hard enough until they did. Let's rewind just a little further into the peak years so you can feel how intoxicating the rise actually was. Because the higher you climb, the harder the crash sounds when it comes. 2013, the Adidas deal lands, $10 million up front, but the real money is in the back-end royalties. Kanye gets creative control he never had at Nike. He starts dropping seasons like fashion collections. Yeezy Season 1, Season 2, all the way up. The 350 Boost silhouette becomes a streetwear religion. People camp out for days. Resale prices hit thousands. Adidas stock jumps every drop. By 2017, they're reporting Yeezy as their fastest-growing brand ever. Internal numbers leaked years later show Yeezy alone was responsible for roughly $1.5 billion in annual revenue at its height. Kanye's cut? Estimates from people who saw the contracts put his royalty slice between 12 and 20% depending on the line. Do the math. That's easily 180 to 300 million flowing into his accounts every single year. Add music royalties, tour money, endorsement deals, and you start seeing why Forbes could comfortably call him a billionaire in 2020. He celebrates by buying land. A lot of land. First, the Monster Lake Ranch in Wyoming, thousands of acres of pristine mountain property. Then the Bighorn Mountain Ranch nearby. He talks about building a utopian community there. Sustainable homes, creative compounds, a place where geniuses can create without interference. He flies in architects, spends millions on planning. Then the Malibu masterpiece, a concrete brutalist mansion designed by Tadao Ando. $57 million cash, floor-to-ceiling windows looking straight at the Pacific, minimalist to the extreme, just like his aesthetic. He guts the interior, adds hidden rooms, recording studios underground. Next door in Hidden Hills, he's got the family compound with Kim, massive, modern. Security gates that look like they belong at a presidential retreat. 4 kids running around. North already showing signs she's inherited the spotlight gene. Saint obsessed with soccer then basketball. Chicago and Psalm still toddlers. On the surface, picture-perfect power couple at the absolute zenith. But underneath? The bipolar episodes are getting more public, more erratic. He's always been open about the diagnosis, called it his superpower in interviews when he's manic. I'm on a different frequency, he'd say, but the frequency starts glitching. 2018, Oval Office with Trump, red MAGA hat. I see it as a father's love thing, you know? The room full of black leaders looks stunned. Twitter explodes. Sponsors get nervous, but Adidas stays quiet. Why? Because the following month, Yeezy Season 6 drops and sells out in minutes. Money talks louder than controversy. 2019, TMZ live rant. When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. The backlash is nuclear. Radio stations pull his tracks for a cycle, but again, Adidas doesn't flinch. Gap announces a 10-year, $1 billion Yeezy deal in February 2020, the biggest fashion partnership in history at the time. Kanye posts victory lap photos, him in the Gap offices grinning like he just beat the system. "We about to make history," he captions. Then the pandemic hits, world shuts down, but Yeezy doesn't slow. Gap delays physical stores, but the online drops still print money. Kanye moves the family to Wyoming full-time during lockdown, posts drone footage of the ranch. Talks about God, community, homeschooling the kids on the land. It looks idyllic until it doesn't. Kim files for divorce February 2021. The announcement is clinical, irreconcilable differences. Behind the scenes, sources who were around both camps say it had been fracturing for months. Kanye's manic phases getting longer, more intense, Kim trying to hold the family together. While dealing with her own empire exploding, Skims valuation skyrocketing, he starts posting long Instagram rants about her, about Pete Davidson, about custody. One post, I'm not letting my children be raised by a man who wears dresses on TV. Deleted fast, but screenshots live forever. He shows up uninvited at her birthday party in Palm Springs later that year. Security has to intervene. The photos leak, the headlines write themselves. Meanwhile, the music keeps coming, but the tone shifts darker. Donda album drops August 2021, named after his mom who passed in 2020. Emotional, raw, but also paranoid. Tracks like Jail and Hurricane. He performs at listening parties in stadiums with celebrity choirs, but the interviews get weirder. Drink Champs October 2022. He goes on a 40-minute tirade naming Jewish executives in music and fashion. Jewish people own the black voice. The clip is pulled from rotation almost immediately. Revolt, owned by Diddy at the time, apologizes, but the damage is spreading. Paris Fashion Week October 2022. He walks the runway in a White Lives Matter shirt. The room goes dead quiet. Models look uncomfortable. Backstage, he doubles down. They want to control the narrative. Then the tweet drops days later, DEFCON 3, and just like that, the guillotine falls. Adidas termination hits like a sledgehammer. Gap cancels the partnership within 48 hours. Balenciaga severs ties. CAA drops him as a client. Talent agencies ghost. Radio blacklists. Spotify and Apple Music don't remove the music, but promotional pushes stop cold. Forbes officially strikes billionaire from his name. 400 million. That's the new number. Cash, music catalog, remaining real estate, 5% of Skims, which is now worth billions thanks to Kim, and whatever merch he can still move. But here's the part most people miss. He didn't just lose the valuation, he lost the infrastructure. The Yeezy factories in China and Indonesia operated under Adidas contracts, the supply chain, theirs. The marketing budget, theirs. The retail partnerships, gone. Overnight, he's an independent brand. With zero infrastructure and a reputation that makes every major retailer nervous. So what does he do? He does what Kanye has always done when the world tells him no. He doubles down harder. He doubles down harder. By late 2022, Kanye is already moving pieces behind the scenes. While the headlines are still screaming billionaire no more, he doesn't wait for permission. He never has. Within weeks of the Adidas termination, he's on the phone with manufacturers in China. He tells them straight, we're going direct. No more middlemen. Yeezy.com becomes the only store. The website relaunches in stripped-down form by December 2022. No fancy animations, no hype videos. Just product grids, sizes, add to cart. Prices slashed to move volume. Slides at $20, hoodies at $120, socks at $20. It's the opposite of the luxury drop culture he built. It's survival mode dressed as revolution. And it works. Faster than anyone expected. The first big independent drop in early 2023. Basic foam runners and slides sells out in hours. Shopify servers crash under the traffic. Kanye posts screenshots, millions in sales in one day. He claims $20 million in 24 hours. Forbes calls it unverifiable, but order confirmations leak on Reddit and TikTok show real numbers. Show real numbers in the high six figures to low millions per drop. No royalties going to Adidas, no Gap cut. No Balenciaga split. He keeps almost everything after production and shipping. Margins jump to 60% or higher. For a man who just lost the biggest corporate lifeline in fashion, it's oxygen, but cash burn is brutal. Legal fees from the divorce alone are rumored to be in the tens of millions. Kim Kardashian's lawyers don't come cheap. And neither do his. Then there's child support. Court documents from the Los Angeles Superior Court show monthly obligations. In the high six figures when you factor in the 4 kids and the lifestyle they were accustomed to. Add security details, private jets. He still uses NetJets even when posting about being broke. So staff salaries for the skeleton Yeezy team, and you start seeing why 400 million in net worth doesn't feel like 400 million when half of it is illiquid real estate and music rights. Privet, moi хорошие, it's your boy Strange back with another deep dive. So he starts selling assets, first the smaller pieces. In 2023, he offloads a Calabasas condo for roughly $2.95 million, bought years earlier for investment. Then in 2024, the big ones start dropping. The Tadao Ando Malibu mansion, purchased for $57 million in 2021, hits the market. He had gutted it, added underground studios, custom concrete finishes, listed at $39 million initially, then dropped the price repeatedly. Sold in late 2024 for $21 million. That's a $36 million paper loss in 3 years. Photos of the empty house circulate online. Stark white walls, no furniture, just echoes. Kanye posts a black square with the caption, God had other plans. Wyoming follows. The Monster Lake Ranch, over 4,000 acres with a lake, cabins, and the beginnings of his Donda Academy vision, goes back to the original owners, the Flitner family, for $14 million in 2025. No profit. The Bighorn Mountain Ranch, even larger, lists for $12 million and lingers. He tells a podcast in 2025, I don't need land to be free. Freedom is in the mind. But sources close to the transaction say it was pure liquidity play. He needed cash fast, one real estate broker who worked on the deal whispers off record. The ranches were beautiful, but they were bleeding money in taxes and maintenance. Meanwhile, the personal life spirals in public. Bianca Censori enters the picture hard in late 2022. They marry in a private ceremony December 2022. No license at first, just symbolic. She's an Australian architect who worked at Yeezy as a designer. Quiet at first, then suddenly everywhere. Naked boat ride in Italy 2023. Paparazzi shots show her completely bare while he's fully clothed, later explained as art performance. Grammys 2025 red carpet. She wears a sheer bodysuit that leaves almost nothing to imagination. The internet breaks. Vanity Fair profile in early 2026 has her saying, "I was embarrassed for the first time. My aunt was on the boat that day. It was just me kneeling, head on his lap. People twisted it." She talks about trying to leave multiple times. Unhappy. Rehab stints rumored. Kanye drops a song titled Bianca on Vultures 2. My baby, she ran away, but she came back for the love. They stay together. For now. The music side keeps the lights on. Vultures 1 with Ty Dolla $ign drops February 2024. Debuts at #1 despite almost zero radio play. Carnival featuring Rich the Kid and Playboy Carti becomes his biggest streaming hit in years. Over 1 billion Spotify streams by early 2026, making him the second rapper after Drake to cross that milestone. Touring picks up, sold out arenas in Asia and Europe. Merch tables at the shows move insane volume. Hoodies, tees, even the $20 slides. He claims the tour alone grossed over 100 million in 2024-2025, but the lawsuits keep coming. A former assistant files in 2024 alleging harassment, vulgar texts, unwanted advances, settled quietly for an undisclosed sum. Another ex-Yeezy employee leaks DMs, Kanye replying to criticism with, "You're fired and your mom is a whore." More settlements. The pattern is clear. Genius-level creativity mixed with zero filter and explosive temper. People who worked closest say the highs were euphoric and the lows apocalyptic. Fired on the spot for breathing wrong, one told me anonymously, and through it all, the apology tour starts in pieces. Early 2026, he buys a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal. "I deeply regret any pain I have caused. My bipolar disorder and the traumatic brain injury from my 2002 car accident contributed to words and actions that were wrong." He blames mania, seeks treatment, posts more Bible verses, goes to church in LA, the industry side-eyes it. Convenient timing, one former CAA exec says. He's radioactive until he's not. But the direct-to-consumer model, it's holding. Yeezy.com now does weekly drops. Minimal marketing, just Kanye posting on X or Instagram. Fans still line up digitally. Estimates from retail analysts put independent Yeezy revenue at 300 to 600 million annually in 2024-2025. His personal take after costs, easily 150 to 300 million a year. Not the old Adidas royalty river, but enough to keep the jet fueled and the security paid. Берегите себя и свои кошельки. До встречи в следующем выпуске злой аналитики. Пока, мои хорошие. Держитесь там. And by early 2026, it's become almost ritualistic. Every few weeks, another property quietly exits the portfolio. Another Instagram post hints at simplifying. Another Yeezy drop lands with prices so aggressive it feels like he's daring the world to call him broke. The man who once bragged about buying islands and building his own city now talks about freedom from things. But the math doesn't lie. Freedom costs cash when you're still paying child support, legal retainers, private school tuition for North and Saint, and keeping a skeleton crew of designers, photographers, and security on payroll. Let's map out the liquidation timeline more precisely because the scale of it is staggering when you line it all up. 2023. Smaller flips first. A Hidden Hills guest house parcel sells for $4.25 million. Part of the family compound he shared with Kim before the divorce. Then a string of Calabasas investment lots go one by one for $3.8 million, another for $2.1 million. Real estate insiders in LA tell me these were quick, all-cash deals. He wasn't waiting for top dollar, one agent who handled a transaction said off the record. He needed liquidity yesterday. 2024, the big emotional hits. The Tadao Ando Malibu house. That property wasn't just real estate, it was a statement. $57 million purchase price in April 2021. Kanye reportedly spent another $10 to $15 million customizing it. Subterranean recording bunker, custom concrete forms, minimalist landscaping that looked like a Zen monastery floating above the ocean. He lived there sporadically after the divorce, posting sunrise videos from the deck with captions like God's light, listed at $39 million in mid-2024, price drops to $35, then $30, then $28. Finally sells in November 2024 for $21 million flat. $36 million realized loss. The buyer? A tech founder who wanted the prestige but not the drama. Photos from the open house show the place stripped bare. No art, no furniture, just cold concrete and ocean views that suddenly felt lonely. Wyoming accelerates in 2025. Monster Lake Ranch, roughly 4,500 acres with a private lake, multiple homes, equestrian facilities, and the half-built infrastructure for what Kanye called Donda Academy, sells back to the Flitner family, the original sellers, for $14 million, no markup. The Flitners had held the note. It was essentially a return to sender. Bighorn Mountain Ranch, even larger at over 7,000 acres, lists at $12 million and sits for months before going under contract in late 2025 to a conservation group. Again, break-even at best. He posts a single photo of the empty ranch house with the caption, "The land was never mine, it was God's." Fans call it poetic. Finance people call it necessity. Other scraps follow. A Belgium loft in Antwerp, bought during the Yeezy season days for European base, sells quietly for around 2 million euros. A small parcel in Calabasas zoned for development goes for 1.5 million. By February 2026, the real estate purge has shaved at least 70 to 80 million off the gross asset side of his balance sheet. Some of that money funnels straight back into operations. New manufacturing runs in undisclosed Asian factories, marketing, mostly him posting on X, legal defense, and crucially, keeping Bianca's lifestyle intact while the marriage teeters. Because the Bianca chapter is its own slow-motion car crash playing out in real time. Vanity Fair's February 2026 cover story is the most revealing window yet. She sits for the interview looking exhausted but composed. Quotes that hit hard. "I've tried to leave more than once. I was unhappy. The control was overwhelming at times. Outfits, schedule, even what I ate sometimes." She describes the Italy boat incident. "It was misinterpreted. My aunt was literally 10 feet away. I was kneeling with my head on his lap. That's it. But the photos made it look like something else, and I felt humiliated for the first time in public." She talks about rehab, unspecified but implied substance and mental health. Kanye's response? He drops Bianca on Vulture's 2 Deluxe Edition, lyrics pleading, obsessive, vulnerable. "My baby ran away, but she came back for the love. I can't breathe without her above." They're still photographed together in Tokyo and Milan in January 2026, her in increasingly minimalist, sometimes transparent outfits he clearly curates. Insiders split. Half say she's trapped by the prenup and lifestyle, half say she's genuinely in love with the chaos. Either way, the marriage is the last public anchor he has left. Through all this, the direct Yeezy business is the lifeline. No more corporate overlords, no more 15% royalty bleed. He owns the trademark outright after the Adidas split. Production shifted to smaller, more flexible factories, some in China, some reportedly in Vietnam and Indonesia. Drops are frequent but low hype. No runway shows, no celebrity seating. Just Kanye posting a grainy photo on X with new drop and a link. $20 slides still the bestseller. Comfortable, polarizing foam design that became a cultural meme. Hoodies at 150, tees at 40, socks bundled at 25. Analysts tracking Shopify data and resale sites estimate annual revenue between $450 and $700 million in 2025. Margins 65 to 75% after COGS and shipping. That puts Kanye's personal draw in the 250 to 450 million range yearly before taxes, overhead, and the endless legal sinkhole. Add music, Vultures 1 and 2 combined for over 2 billion global streams by early 2026. Carnival alone crosses 1 billion on Spotify, pushing him past Eminem and Kendrick in recent yearly totals. Touring Asia leg in late 2025. Reportedly grossed 85 million. Merch at shows moves another 20 to 30 million per tour leg. The independent era isn't empire scale anymore, but it's profitable. He said in interviews, "I don't need them. I am the brand now." Yet the apologies keep coming, each one more calculated. The Wall Street Journal full-page ad in January 2026. Signed personally, black text on white, no photos. "I was wrong. My words caused real pain. Bipolar disorder is real. And the traumatic brain injury from my car crash in 2002 affected my judgment more than I admitted. I am seeking treatment and asking for forgiveness." He posts church selfies in LA, talks about reading scripture daily. The industry response is muted. Ari Emanuel reportedly told friends, "Nice try, but the bridge is burned." Adidas moves on, stock up 22% since the split. Gap quietly kills remaining Yeezy inventory. Kim Skim's valuation crosses 5 billion, her personal net worth now estimated north of 1.2 billion. Kanye, still fighting the Forbes number. In February 2026, he reposts the Eaton Venture Services letter. Yeezy brand valued at 2.77 billion based on trademark strength, direct sales velocity, and cultural relevance. "They don't understand ownership," he captions. Skeptics point out it's a self-commissioned valuation with no audited financials. But fans don't care. They buy the slides anyway. The paradox at the heart of it all is this. Kanye West torched the golden machine that made him untouchable, yet somehow he's still standing. Smaller, meaner, more independent, and arguably more obsessive about control than ever before. The 1.5 billion didn't just vanish into thin air, it was redistributed. Adidas banked hundreds of millions. Off the final inventory clearance in 2025, Gap quietly moved remaining stock through outlets. Kim Kardashian's Skims empire kept climbing, valuation north of 5 billion by 2026. Her personal net worth comfortably over 1.2 billion, 5% of which still technically belongs to Kanye. The executives who pulled the plug, bonuses intact, stock options vested, careers unscathed. The industry didn't collapse without him. It adapted, profited, and moved on. Kanye, he became the ultimate underdog again. The same position he was in back in 2003 when Rockefeller told him he'd never be more than a producer. Except now the stakes are personal. The kids are older. North turning 13 in June 2026. Already dropping fashion hints on TikTok that make headlines. Saint dominating youth basketball leagues. While Kanye posts proud dad clips mixed with cryptic prayers. Chicago and Psalm caught in the middle of custody schedules that still spark occasional leaked texts and court filings. Kim keeps the narrative tight. Co-parenting business first, no drama on her side. Kanye keeps posting Bible verses 1 minute, subtle shots at the system the next. The war never really ended, it just went quieter. And yet the hustle never stops. Yeezy.com hums along like a perpetual motion machine, drops land without warning. Sometimes 3 in a week. A new foam runner colorway, oversized hoodies in earth tones that echo the old Adidas days, but feel rawer, less polished. The $20 slides remain the cash cow. Lightweight, polarizing, comfortable. Comfortable enough that even non-fans buy them. Resale market still exists, but thinner. Most people just hit the site directly now. No more camping outside stores, no more bots fighting scalpers, just fans and opportunists clicking add to cart. When Kanye's X post goes live at 3 a.m. his time, the numbers tell a story of resilience laced with desperation. Independent Yeezy revenue estimates from retail trackers and e-commerce analysts hover between 500 and 800 million. After production, shipping, minimal paid ads, he relies on organic virality and the ever-present legal bleed. Kanye's personal take likely lands in the 250 to 450 million range yearly, enough to maintain the jet. The security detail, the private tutors, the therapy sessions he's publicly acknowledged, and Bianca's wardrobe. Not enough to rebuild the ranches or buy back the Malibu house. Not enough to silence the whispers that he's one bad drop away from real trouble. Nah. The mental health arc is the thread that never snaps. The Wall Street Journal apology ad was just the opening act. In February 2026 interviews, he's more candid. The car crash in 2002 fractured my jaw and my skull in ways doctors didn't fully catch at the time. Combine that with bipolar swings that turn me into someone even I don't recognize. I said things that hurt people. I own that now. He talks about daily scripture reading, church in Calabasas, cutting out certain substances. Fans cheer the healing. Skeptics call it PR. The truth probably sits in the messy middle. Genuine regret mixed with strategic image repair. Because even in contrition, Kanye can't resist the spotlight. Bianca remains the wild card. The Vanity Fair piece painted a picture of love wrapped in control. He has ideas for everything. My hair, my makeup, what I wear, where we go. Sometimes it feels like art. Sometimes it feels like a cage. Yet she stays. They're spotted in Tokyo fashion districts in late January 2026. Her in a near-transparent top he designed, him holding her hand like it's armor. Divorce rumors flare every month, reconciliation posts follow. One source close to her circle told me anonymously, she's in too deep. The prenup is ironclad, the lifestyle is addictive, and she genuinely believes she can save him, but it's exhausting. Kanye, in a rare quiet moment on X, posts a photo of them praying together, my wife, my muse, God's plan. The final irony? The fall made him untouchable in a new way. No more corporate leash. No more Gap approvals, no more Adidas notes on the designs. He releases what he wants, when he wants. Vultures 3 whispers started in January 2026. Ty Dolla $ign hinting at sessions. Fans speculate July drop. Streams keep climbing. The catalog, still worth hundreds of millions, generates passive income. Skim Steak, passive too. He's not rebuilding the old empire. He's crafting a smaller, fiercer one. A cult brand that thrives on controversy, loyalty, and low-price accessibility. So how the fuck did this even happen? A genius-level talent meets unchecked ego, untreated or undertreated mental illness, deep-seated resentment toward an industry he felt exploited him, and one catastrophic tweet that gave everyone the excuse they needed to cut the cord. He didn't just lose 1.5 billion, he chose to detonate the bridge while standing on it. And somehow, against every odd, he's still walking through the smoke, selling slides, selling forgiveness, selling the myth of comeback. We're all still watching, still buying, still debating in comments whether he's the greatest artist alive, the biggest cautionary tale, or both at once. This is Dirty Hollywood. The curtain's pulled back, the dirt's everywhere. If this episode hit you like it hit me, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss when we go deeper. Drop in the comments right now. Who do you want me to investigate next? Diddy's ongoing nightmare, the Kardashians' next empire move, someone fresh who's been hiding in plain sight? Your call. And if you've got real insider info, texts, documents, whispers from the room, send it. Anonymity 100% guaranteed. Links and the secure Dropbox are in the description. Until next time, stay dirty. The truth never sleeps and neither do I. This is Strange, signing off.